Yeah, real quick, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about boxing because I'm a fan of the art of boxing, and I'm a fan of a few sports, and what I always see about sports, especially boxing as of late, is how it translates to life. I'm not going to be long on this, guys. Uh, watching these highlights, what happened between Terrence Crawford and Canelo, it's just like life, man. Like, people look at the Terrence Crawford highlights and they just call you a genius. They call Terrence Crawford a genius, like in boxing now, because of the way he fought Canelo. How he just stood in there and he didn't run from him at all. He just stood in there and punished Canelo. He didn't have the power to knock Canelo out, but he stood in there and whipped him. And people just think, man, that's such a genius. But it kind of reminds me of myself. Like, they say just roll with the punches. I don't like cliches. I hate cliches, matter of fact. It's like, because cliches is always like just some kind of cop out to, go along and get along. That's what cliche is really for. It's just a go along and get along phrase, basically. So they say you should roll with the punches. I say, why do you got to roll with the punches? How about just avoiding the punches? But then people will say, oh, you were scared, or you ran away, or you didn't man up, right? That's what they were saying about Floyd. When he was smart enough and crafty enough to dodge punches, or like Crawford saw Canelo's punches coming from coming from a mile away, and he was just able to block it or avoid it. I mean, Canelo, I'm gonna be honest with y'all about Canelo, man. This man does not fight like a professional boxer. It's like they just found anybody out there with a face, and it just goes to show you they can turn anybody into a star if they want to. The way Canelo punches, it makes no sense to me. When you see it in slow motion, he does these wide punches. It's actually got a little worse as he's aged. That's why I think he should retire, because he's not skilled anymore. When he was younger, his hooks were a little tighter. Now they're wide, too wide. You can see him coming from a mile away. I don't see Crawford as a genius for the way he did Errol Spence, a person who I always looked at as high. I always look like he's high as a kite. Even promoted smoking marijuana. Even looked high on fight night. I never thought Errol Spence was a great boxer. He was a good boxer. He wasn't great. We really don't know how great these fighters is, because the name in the game in boxing is you're never really going to see the best in the best again. It's not like the old school. The object is to make money and build up momentum until you're ready to cash a boxer out. That's the name of the game. And then the boxing game has changed because of Floyd Mayweather too. It's all about making money. So you're not going to get the best fights anymore. There's some people out there, I'm pretty sure, who know Canelo is not a great fighter. I mean, you could see his punches coming from a mile away. I was looking at his fight with Triple G. His hooks were a little tighter, but just getting back to Crawford again. So Crawford is this great, everybody, he's getting all the praise. He's this great fighter, right? I can't praise Crawford for beating up Errol Spence, and I can't praise Crawford for doing what he did against Canelo, a person who you could see his punches coming from a mile away. Now, I won't give praise to Crawford unless I see what he can do against a Dimitri Bivol. I told y'all I used to have a roommate from Kazakhstan who we used to spar. He was an upstate exchange student who lived in my apartment building upstairs, and we ended up being good friends because one night I banged on the ceiling because him and his friends was making noise, and I got mad. I had to get up and work in the morning. It was exchanged. At that time, I think I was about 28 years old. He must have been about 25. But it's so funny because we end up sparring. The guy had boxing gloves, and this guy had power. Those guys from Kazakhstan, they got power. Talking about, GGGs from Kazakhstan. I sparred with a guy from Kazakhstan who had his own boxing gloves. And what this guy said was that my power, he said I could definitely knock him out. And this guy had power. I was actually surprised he had that much power because he was a little on the lanky side. Well, he wasn't lanky. He was about an inch or two taller than me. And he looked Asian. But I was surprised at the power that came out from his punches. At that time, I was a gym buff. I was somebody who was always in the gym at least 2 or 3 times a week. When I was about 27, 28 years old, And that's why I talk about people from other countries, guys, a lot, because the people from other countries, those have been some of the best friends I've ever had, was people from other countries, particularly the eastern side of the world. Whether we were talking about UK or Kazakhstan, those are the people who, it just seemed like when I run into these people, the feeling is always mutual. We just, it's just, I don't feel like I got to put on the front in any kind of way or hide who I am. And they see my mental toughness. Nobody from the East has ever thought of me as weak, or this is how a lot of people in America I don't know, they just don't get it or something. They just judge books by the cover and stuff like that. Not everybody in the world has these false pretenses that people have over here in America. But anyway, I'm going over 5 minutes, but I just want to tell y'all, no, this guy from Kazakhstan I sparred, he said he couldn't believe my power. He said you could knock me out. I was even surprised at my power at that time because it wasn't like, I never had a sparring partner. And I found out that my punch was very, very powerful, very powerful. Okay? Abnormally powerful. But I won't be I won't be satisfied until I see Crawford fight somebody like Dmitry Bivol. If he gets past Bivol, all hell Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford for president. I cannot give respect to Crawford like that when you beat somebody like a Errol Spence, who had been in a car accident, by the way, and then you beat somebody with that you can see their punch coming from a mile away. Canelo, who was just basically just standing in one spot. He's like a big sausage out there, just sitting there. None of that stuff impresses me, man. Crawford, if he can fight Bivol and go the distance, even if he loses the fight, that's the only way I'm gonna be like worshiping Terrence Crawford. Other than that, man, the sport of boxing, I mean, it's just phony. It's not what it appears to be.